What is your favorite part about wrestling? Is it the storytelling or the actual wrestling inside the ring?
Okay.
Talk to me about
that. So this is funny because this is like a crazy debate. Some people are like, wrestling does not matter if there's no story to engaging.
Yes.
And some people are like, the story means nothing if the payoff is bad.
Yes.
And I know this is a cop-out.
Mm-hmm. I like both.
I'm greedy. How greedy? I like both. Please be an athlete, please be a great wrestler, and please tell stories. Please,
okay, fair enough.
I'm so sorry.
Fair enough.
My favorite wrestlers gave me both. Stone Cold gave me both.
Fair
Shawn
enough.
Michaels, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Randy. They gave me both. Please give me both. I know it's a cop-out, but I genuinely feel like the best thing about wrestling is that it's a mesh of amazing athleticism and beautiful storytelling. And if you don't have one of the two, I don't consider you a good professional wrestler.
So who's done both of them the best? Who's had a great story and had an amazing storyline, but also was an impressive athlete in the ring? At their peak.
At their peak?
At their peak, let's say. 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I'm here with Jimmy. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. I'm so glad to be back. I've been off for a couple of weeks. I don't know if you've seen, I've not posted for like a month. I was just out in Ireland, just kind of living life. But this is what I love. I love doing this. I love sitting down with people and talking. So I'm so glad to be doing this again. I'm so glad to be here. First off, let's start off properly. How do we know each other? Just start off with that so people have an idea how we're here today.
Okay, yeah. So there was this. What was the first thing? It wasn't the concert. There was something before.
Was it Mikey's house?
No, it was the museum. There was a museum.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the start of the year. Our mutual friend Mikey and Courtney invited us to a national gallery, the National Museum, right?
Yes,
in Trafalgar Square, and that's where I met Jeoffrey for the first time. Then we saw each other again at a concert. You was there, right? June through the concert, and then I think the third time was at our friend Mikey's house for the last game of the Premier League, right?
Yeah. Oh shit. That's true,
So we've basically gotten to know each other over the past year, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like. I don't know. That's it, really.
That's it, really. No, I mean, yeah, that's true. Like, I forgot about that gallery. That was a good day. And then obviously the Juneteenth concert. I remember that day because I remember me being very, very angry because Mikey and thing was late.
Very late. Oh my god. Yeah, like I was so upset because I have such a thing with time. I hate when people are late. Like it's so bad. And I was just like, man.
I felt so bad because I was like, I'm meeting new people. I'm supposed to be talking to you guys.
I know what I'm thinking in the back of my head is, why are these guys late?
And I'm just vexed, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to talk to anyone. Anyway. So that's when we first met, and I know that we had so much things in common that I was like, you know what, I gotta get Jimmy on the podcast. So I'm glad that we're doing this today because I think like there's so much that we can cover and so much that we can talk about today. Yeah. So let's start. To start off with, one of the things that we covered when we first met was your love of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, I used to be such a big fan of wrestling when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, not even as a kid, like when I was like 13 to 16, I would watch it religiously. I would like be so much into it. I'd play the games and all of that. Yeah. But I kind of just like lost track of it because I didn't keep up. You have to keep up with the story. You have to keep up with everything. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start there. And I want you to just introduce me to what you think wrestling, what you know about wrestling, how you feel about wrestling. So first off, the question is simple. What makes wrestling real? Because I know there's always that question of, is it wrestling real? Is it a sport? Is it entertainment? What do you think makes wrestling real for people and for the fans that love it?
Okay, so wait, what makes it real to fans or what makes it real? I guess I was okay. So I will say, as a disclaimer, wrestling is and always will be scripted. The wrestlers in the match know who wins. Mm-hmm. It's very performative. It's for the crowd. You know, it's theater. But the action and the bumps is basically like when they fall on the ring. It is very real. Mm-hmm. When I was in secondary school, I used to kind of take up wrestling. So I used to learn how to take bumps and learn how to do very, very basic things. I wasn't no professional or anything like that. I just did a few like little lessons, and brother, it stings. You know what it is? It doesn't hurt, it stings. It's like, you know.
And then they have to keep on going.
And they have to keep on going. You know, they drop on plywood. They've got a ring. They've got obviously a metal ring, but it's plywood that they bump on.
Yeah.
They have to consistently bump on that floor every night. And the WWE schedule is it's in particular very hectic.
Yeah.
So they have to wrestle not just on TV, because obviously you know Raw, SmackDown, but it's not just that. They have house shows. They have they basically go on concert. You know, you see how people have a concert. They go in London, they go in Manchester, they go. They do that. They go on tour, and that tour is throughout the duration of the year. So they have to work maybe 200 to 300 dates a year. Yeah, so
the body must be fucked.
Yeah, like literally, like they go through a lot of excruciating pain pretty much every day, barring a few days off in a year, and it is all for our entertainment. So that's what makes it real to them. As a fan, I'm very invested in the theatrical elements of wrestling. Like I both love the athleticism that they possess in wrestling, and I love the stories. I love being able to engage with certain characters. A story in particular growing up that I always related to was Rey Mysterio.
619,
obviously in primary school we're all short, so seeing someone who's like 5'6", I think they even gassed it. He's not even 5'6".
He's like so small.
He's like 5'4", 5'2". And he's running around and beating up all these guys who are bigger than him. That was just something very easy to relate to as a kid. And I always remember when he won. One of my earliest memories was when he won the Royal Rumble, and he honored it to his late friend Eddie Guerrero, who was also a professional wrestler, who was one of my favorites. I loved Eddie Guerrero growing up. He was one of my favorites. So it's just little things like that make you relate to a character and root for them to win. And akin to in a movie when a superhero finally discovers their ability, you root for them to win. That's wrestling. You know, a lot of it is superheroes and supervillains, and it's engaging in characters and not only being very happy when they win, but sometimes on the other end of it, being happy when they lose. Because I hated Triple H because he was a bad guy. I just, you know, he disgusted me, and every time he'd lose, everyone is cheering about the mere fact that he lost. I will never forget when he actually lost to Batista, and I was so happy. I liked Batista just because he beat up Triple H, you know. So like Triple H was my favorite op, like so like it works. It's a balance of both.
I've got a question actually. I know I should have started here actually. So let's go back to the beginning. When you first started hearing about wrestling, what was your introduction to wrestling? Like what age? What first gripped you? I know you've spoken about the storytelling and obviously the people, but yeah, what was that introduction like? What gripped you and how did you really get into it?
Okay, so my very first wrestling event that I remember watching, because there must have been a few matches I watched, but not really a great memory of it. But the first wrestling event I remember watching was it was called Survivor Series, and it was in 2002. And what I remember distinctly was watching my favorite wrestler, Shawn Michaels, win something called an Elimination Chamber match, which is basically 6 wrestlers.
Shawn Michaels, not to interrupt. Shawn Michaels was the one where Sweet Chin Music?
Yes, Sweet Chin Music. So I remember watching Shawn Michaels win an Elimination Chamber match, and he beat the last person he pinned was obviously Triple H, and he won the world title, and it was just this big celebration, and that's what hooked me and got me into wrestling. So I'll always credit that event and that match for getting me into professional wrestling in the first place. Shawn Michaels is still my favorite wrestler.
What was it about that match that made you like really like it? Do you remember like what feelings?
That's a good question. Do you know what it was? Right, I think when I watched the match, Triple H was, you know, 6'4", 260 pounds. He was jacked, you know, juiced up to his eyeballs. And then Shawn Michaels was very like, he was a shell, like he was skinny. And I do think at 5 years old I probably related to that scene, because obviously I'm living in a house with all these big dudes and everything, and I'm short and skinny and whatever. And just seeing him like overpower just this beast in Triple H and win, and everyone is screaming, and like people are crying and he's crying and there's blood, and I think it was like he took such a beating.
Yes.
And he didn't stop. And I think resiliency and durability, just seeing someone, you know, withstand so much pain and then come out the winner, it was just such an inspiring thing. It's like akin to the first Rocky film. You know, just seeing someone overcome the odds. Like, it's just so... When it's done well and it doesn't feel... When it feels authentic, it's like earned. The best, yes, and it's earned. Yeah. When it feels earned, it's like the best thing ever. So that's what got me into wrestling, the Shawn Michaels, I'd say.
I'll speak for myself then. Oh my god, because like I remember you mentioned Rey Mysterio. It's literally the same thing for me. I saw this little short guy like facing, and also not just he was short, but the way he moved around the ring, the little like elastics he used to do, like he fucking would move and like do the little thing where he hold and he come back around and
619,
the 619, like, and it's just like the story, and I think that's what I want to get into next. The story of like someone like Rey Mysterio, and I'm pretty sure this was crafted. Like they understood exactly what that person meant to all those group of people. Yeah, they understood that this guy here with the mask, the faceless mask, so you could become an everyman. You could imprint yourself onto him because you just feel like, you know, he doesn't have a face. Yes, he's Mexican, but like at the end of the day, we're all Mexican. If Rey Mysterio is Mexican, if Rey Mysterio is Mexican, then we're all kind of Mexican, right? Yeah. And like I remember so much, like, and you talk about Triple H, Shawn Michaels, all these characters and all these people and everything they represented, like that to me was my introduction and what made me fall in love with wrestling. Yeah. So that's my question now. My next question to you before we get into storytelling. Talk to me about some of the characters that you've really like related to a lot in wrestling. Okay. So you mentioned Shawn Michaels. Who are some of the other people that you thought, like some of the wrestlers, I guess, that growing up that you ever looked up to, you hated, that you just thought like, oh, I love this person for what he represents or for what he makes me understand about wrestling, I guess?
That's a good question. Okay. I think the easiest character that I can talk about relating to was probably, and he maybe was a bit before our time, but I caught the tail end of his career. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was very much the everyman, and I was having a conversation with Mikey recently, and if I had to compare Stone Cold's essence to a movie character, it would be John McClane in Die Hard. Like he was very, John McClane's a cop, but he was very foul-mouthed, you know, trash talking, beer drinking, you know, wrestling had a lot of pageantry and people coming out in flashy suits and, you know, people coming out in big fireworks, and Stone Cold would just come out in black trunks and black knee pads. He's walking like he's pissed off. He's talking trash as he's walking to the ring. He's putting the middle finger to people. Like he was just very, very anti-establishment, very anti-authority, very irreverent. And I do think I kind of relate to him in a sense. I mean, I respect elders and things, but I do think I harbor a very tiny bit of irreverence in that if you respect me, I respect you, and if you don't respect me, I don't respect you. And I don't feel like I see status. I don't look at you as above me. So maybe that's what in that essence, that's what maybe I'd relate to. Another character that I related to a lot was Shawn Michaels, just because he was, you know, he was very much a showboat, very charismatic, and he was also Christian, you know. That was the Shawn Michaels I knew. The Rock is like one of the most entertaining wrestlers ever.
Why? Talk to me about The Rock. Why is he such? Because he made a whole career of it. Why is he such a...
God, it's difficult trying to put my finger on why The Rock is so entertaining. The Rock is someone who's really good at making things memorable. He has like very fun vocal inflections. So like he'll say a sentence like in like the funniest way. He's very dramatic. Like his microphone skills are really what got him very popular with the crowd. People love to say things like, it doesn't matter what you think, and like, you know, like, or he says, for example, the millions, and then the fans go, and millions. It's like, the thing is, people mistake The Rock as, oh, he's only popular because of the catchphrase. It's like, no. The way he's saying these things makes us make it a catchphrase because we love how he says it. You know, he was very interesting as a character because he was so unique. He talked in the third person. You know, Like he's like, oh, The Rock is gonna go, and he's like, who's The Rock?
Can you smell The Rock is like that catchphrase?
But it's you, you know. It's just he had such a unique twist on his character, and I think what I loved about The Rock is he always found a way to somewhat reinvent himself, whether he was a movie star or like something he'd go out in the 500-pound Versace shirt and the shades, and then you do the eyebrow thing. Like all these things are just very charismatic and cool. So that's what made The Rock very entertaining for me. Is he just had such a special nuance to his things. I'm trying to think of other characters that.
Let's stay there then. Here's a question.
Okay.
Before you go, actually, if I have a question.
Also, Undertaker scared the hell out of me when I was a child.
Oh yes, actually, yeah. Now you're just giving me a good segue to go into. I want to really dissect how they do this, because you're mentioning Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, The Rock, and now Undertaker. These are such distinctive characters. They're so distinctive. Like even they're more distinctive to some movie superheroes that we know.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're created because they're people we see them in shows weekly, week out, but they can really pin down an essence of someone and really like just drill it and nail it.
Yeah.
How do you think they do it? How do you think they create these people who become such cultural icons? Like I know obviously, like you talk for The Rock, for example, it's his voice, his stage presence, his inflections, the things that he will stand for in the ring or outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, how do you think WWE does that so much better than any other entertainment, where they can really get essence of a character and make you remember them for the rest of your life?
Okay, that's a good question. I think when it comes to Undertaker and Rey Mysterio, those are two main examples. I think that's the best example of how sports and entertainment mesh, because the way they wrestle and show off their athleticism matches with every single other element of their character. Undertaker wears black, he's tall, he's menacing, he rolls his eyes in the back of his head. So he wrestles in a very menacing way.
Yes,
he'll choke them, and he'll be a bit methodical. He'll do the sit up and they're scared.
Yes.
Everything complements the character they're trying to present.
Yes.
Rey Mysterio was like our superhero. So what's he gonna do? He's gonna do, like you said, elastics. He's gonna jump around. He's gonna be almost like Spider-Man. You know, he's gonna do all those springboards. He's gonna do things that would make a kid inspired and want them to be like him. And Undertaker is going to do things to make people think, wow, this guy is horrifying.
It's scary.
Stone Cold was very, like I said, he was very disrespectful. He's very reverent. The way he'd fight, it would be like a bar brawl. You know, he's punching, he's putting the middle finger at the referee. He's saying, get the F up my way. He's swearing. It's complementing the Stone Cold character. So you don't look at it, and sometimes when you look at a wrestler, you don't even look at it and think, wow, this guy's wrestling. You're almost looking at it as, that's who he is.
And he's just fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's him.
That's him.
That's what he would do anyway.
With baby faces, with the good guys in wrestling, their job is to kind of get the crowd on their feet and get them excited. So they're most likely to have the exciting part of the match. They'll run more. They'll have a lot more explosive power, more agility. The bad guy would try and slow things down to get them to boo, to get the fans to root for them to get beaten up. That also plays an element in us liking the good guy and not liking the bad guy. You have someone like Randy Orton. I don't know if you.
Of course.
Like
RKO is my favorite.
RKO, like bro, that was everywhere, innit? Oh my god,
I used to do that to my little brother. Just run around. I still do it to him. Just sitting there, man, in his face, I'm like, RKO.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Randy Orton is like one of the best bad guys ever, and and he had the whole Viper thing. You know, he was very like sinister.
How do I just... That's the kidding me, bro. It'll never go away. That's the kidding me just coming out.
Like, you know, all that stuff. So then he'd wrestle to kind of attribute to that. It's very slow, methodical type thing. It's things like that. So everything from the costume to the way they talk on the microphone to the way they wrestle to the way they celebrate, it all complements the character they're trying to present to us. And that's what makes it... easy for us to relate to certain.
So you mentioned Babyface and the heel and all these things. Can you give me like a rundown of just the different roles people play in wrestling matches? So obviously you mentioned the heel. What is the role of a heel? What is the role of a babyface? How does that get the audience on their side? The crescendo they reach when this like obviously you've watched so many wrestling matches, you must be able to dissect it. Could you just do that for me quickly? Just understand.
Yeah, so like the babyface is basically the good guy. He's the superhero, the protagonist. He's the guy that most people pay money to see win. They hope that person wins, if done right. Sometimes a babyface isn't popular, but yes, that's the guy that they're supposed to win. They're supposed to be the exciting part of the match. They're supposed to be the energetic part of the match. They're supposed to be the one that we're all rooting for. So the bad guys, the villain, that's the one we pay to see lose. We want to see them get beaten up. We want to see them get what's coming to them, and we're basically there rooting for them to fail. So they'll try and do as much possible to get what's called heat, which is negative energy, booze. So they'll say things like, this town sucks. Like I can imagine, like for example, someone can say something like, oh, London stinks. Yeah, London. You've seen that video? Yes, that's the heel. That's MJF. MJF, who works for he doesn't work for WWE. He works for an alternative wrestling product called All Elite Wrestling. So he's a great example of a heel because he will do his absolute best to get a negative reaction. He'll call a city mid, he'll hit a low blow, you know, dirty tactics. You know, that's a great example of a heel. He's considered one of the best heels of this decade, actually.
On that topic, what's some of the best good heels? What are some of the best baby faces? And also, what are some of the people that subvert that and make you actually cheer for the heel?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so the best good guys, Stone Cold, of course, is one of them. Hulk Hogan was a great babyface in his day. Recently, there's a babyface by the name of Cody Rhodes. He's currently WWE champion. Rey Mysterio, of course, is a great babyface. Rey Mysterio was one of those guys where if you hit him, they boo you instantly. Like, Rey Mysterio was just that popular. And Rey Mysterio is one of the few wrestlers who, I believe, in WWE has never been a bad guy.
Really?
Never been a bad guy in WWE.
Just know that that's his role.
They are not going to boo him. Jeff Hardy was another one. And honestly, ironically enough, Undertaker is a great good guy. Undertaker was always scary and dominant, but it kind of went from a thing where he'd subvert from being an absolute villain to almost like the anti-hero and the elder statesman of wrestling. And I think what happens a lot with wrestling is sometimes people can gather such a reverence and respect for you and what you've done for the business that they almost can't boo you because you've just given so much to the game. It's just a pleasure to see you work, and that's what Undertaker was. Undertaker, as good of a villain as he was never booed, like strongly booed. It was always some type of, he always earned respect from fans. And sometimes they try, that's the thing, sometimes it's so funny. Sometimes villains will try their best to get booed, and the fans are like, no, we love you.
We love you too much. And especially Undertaker's one of those people, I'm guessing, because like you said, like people were like, oh my god, Undertaker's here.
You know, and that kind of like amazing factor that he brought to the show, like to like I remember, like, do you remember when he lost for the first time?
Yes. Yeah.
What was that like?
God. Okay. So I did not expect that to happen. I didn't like that it happened, and I'll never forget messaging my sister, who was just absolutely incensed that the Undertaker. She was so angry. She's saying, "No, this is awful. This is the worst thing ever. I don't hate this." She was on her honeymoon.
It's important, bro.
She was on her honeymoon, just shouting for 2 hours about how awful this was. Her poor husband's trying to get some sleep in Barbados. And it's just like, but it was because the streak meant so much to wrestling fans. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's just deeper than your regular wrestling thing. It's like, this was special, you know? Like, and yeah, the streak.
It had to end at some point, right? It couldn't, I mean, it loses its value if it never ends, you know, but like how it ends is very much important.
That's the thing. Well, this has been the question ever since it did end. Like, was it the right time to end it? Should it have ended? Because the thing is, there's so much things in wrestling that you can do. Do you have to end this particular thing? And also, the person, wrestling is very much about passing the torch, giving it to the next generation. And maybe you could argue that a younger wrestler would benefit from the heat, the negative energy of being Undertaker. But Brock Lesnar is the person who actually beat him, and Brock Lesnar was a made guy, you know, UFC champion, one of the biggest names to ever be associated with professional wrestling. Did he need it? And he was also a part-timer, so he wasn't really a part-timer. Means you're not there every single week, you're there at select dates. So it's like, well, you're not even really going to keep the heat, you know. And then we started cheering him in August, so it's like, well, we didn't even hate you for it. It's like, it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know, I think it should have definitely been done better. Undertaker himself has said that Roman Reigns should have done it, should have been in the streak. Roman Reigns is one of the new faces of WWE. He's pretty much ran the show for a decade, and for the past 4 to 5 years he's hit his magnum opus as the tribal chief, which is perhaps one of the best villainous characters ever. And Roman is a rare occurrence because it's like, he is a villain, but we have so much respect for his character, so much respect for him as a superstar. We enjoy his matches so much that as much as we boo him, we love to see him. He's like, you know, it's like, it's a weird mix of love and hate with the Roman Reigns character.
Okay, here's the question, man.
Okay.
And
I think we've been kind of dancing around it the whole time. I really want to just lock in on it. It's like how storytelling plays a factor in WWE.
Right, okay.
Because I think that's one of the most impressive things that WWE can do. It spins the story for 10 plus years about this one person and like makes you really love, or you said hate, or like have this roller coaster of emotions. And like you mentioned, most good guys end up as bad guys and then back again because that just the times demand it, you know, or something like that. Talk to me about storytelling. What are some of your favorite stories in wrestling, or some of like even using Roman Reigns as an example of like, you know, like, or who he's become? Yeah, talk to me about how storytelling in wrestling works and how you've loved that.
Okay, so I'll try and use a couple of names that I haven't used already, that I haven't name dropped. But the first story that comes to mind is the Bloodline, which is Roman Reigns' family. Him, his cousins, the Usos, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, they are all part of this Samoan dynasty, which is a big-ass family of wrestlers. So they're cousins with The Rock. They have one of them's dad is Umaga, one of them's uncle is Rikishi. So it's just this big dynasty of Samoan wrestlers all under the same family tree. And what has been occurring for the past 4 years is just this one singular story of Roman Reigns being the appointed chief of that family, and the dynamics and responsibilities that arise from it. So you have certain people feeling that Roman Reigns is not a rightful tribal chief because he is very abusive to his cousins. When they lose, he reprimands them, he slaps them, he assaults them. And that builds to the story of every single character in the Bloodline, because then you have his cousin Jey Uso, who loves his family, but he is a good guy at heart, and that made the fans resonate with Jey Uso. And then you have Roman Reigns, who is the dad of the family, and he's abusing his little ones, and that makes the fans dislike Roman Reigns. And then you have Jimmy Uso, who's protecting his brother at first, but then he turns on his brother because he's also got selfish intentions, because he wants to be the chief. Then you have Solo Sikoa, who's kind of a wild card, in that no one really knows where his allegiance is or his desires until he turns on pretty much everyone. You know. And then you have Jacob Fatu, who is like an absolutely insane athlete. I'm going to show you some. He's 300 pounds and he moves like Rey Mysterio.
Really?
He is insane. And he's just this savage Samoan who is just like, he's like, if Solo Sikoa is Dushane, Jacob Fatu is Sully. He's just on baz for no reason. He's willing to jump off anything to injure someone. Like, that's Jacob Fatu. And then you have The Rock, who then enters the storyline. He comes back, and he comes back as the final boss. And he's now almost the elder of the family, and he's who Roman Reigns looks to. And Roman Reigns. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to how I love dynamics and how different things work. Roman Reigns was so demanding that Jey Uso acknowledges him. So demanding that Jimmy Uso acknowledges him. So demanding that Solo acknowledges him. The Rock is his elder. He doesn't demand, he asks. It's different.
Different dynamic.
That's Big Bro. You can't talk to Big Bro like that. He asks him, he's like, can you acknowledge me, please? like literally, like his voice gets weak. Because the dynamic's different. But The Rock does it. But it's made very clear that The Rock stands above the table.
Yes.
They made the dynamic very clear. And I like that. I like that Roman reacts to Jay. That's what I like about storytelling in wrestling, when people act differently to certain things. Roman Reigns acts differently to Jay than he does to The Rock, than he does to Jimmy, than he does to Solo. Like, all of that. Who does he respect more? Who does he like more? You know, so on and so forth. So I'll say the bloodline as far as WWE is concerned. To speak on an alternative wrestling company, which is AEW, there is a pending story with someone called Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. Now, what's interesting about this story is, as when it started off, Swerve was the bad guy and Adam Page was the good guy. And what Swerve did was he went into Adam Page's house.
Literally.
Well,
yeah.
WWE house.
He's the WWE house.
You know, and he was in his house and he was actually playing with Adam Page's newly born child.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But what happens in wrestling, and it's so interesting, is sometimes when someone, like we was talking about villains that get cheered, Swerve was so charismatic and engaging and entertaining, eventually we cheered him. What AEW did, and it was very clever, is they turned the story on its head. And what happened was, instead of Adam Page being the valiant warrior defending his family, he became vengeful because of us and the fact that we chose Swerve over Adam. He has a great engaging promo going, he was in my house and you guys cheered him for it. And that's what turned Adam Page in storyline as the good guy. And what you have Swerve do is, and it's very genius from AEW, is Swerve starts to show more good guy tendencies. Wins cleanly, maybe shows his respect to a certain babyface here and there. He still keeps good heel tendencies because you don't want to betray the character, but he just gives you more things about him that you can root for.
Yes.
And then you have Adam Page. Now he's more of a bad guy. He's doing things that he shouldn't do.
Yes.
He's doing things that are too far for a babyface to do. Now, even though he's justified, you can engage with booing him, and even though Swerve may have it coming, you can engage with cheering for him. So that's one of
that's fascinating.
That's one of the examples.
And also to use the
Audience.
Yeah.
To use the audience as part of that story, to turn in the 4-4, to be like, he's now addressing you, and now you are part of this. That's amazing.
You're part of the problem, and that happens quite a lot with wrestling, because the thing with wrestling fans is they're very, God, I don't know the word. They're very...
Seems like they're knowledgeable. They
are knowledgeable, and we can see behind the curtain. And at the end of the day, we all want to be entertained. So sometimes the most entertaining person who we're going to cheer for. The Rock is an example of someone who would turn heel because he's being booed. So with Swerve and Adam Page, that's an example of what's called a double turn, and that's where two people turn in the same angle. So Swerve turned from bad guy to good guy. Adam Page turned from good guy to bad guy, and they had a very brutal rivalry that hasn't quite yet culminated, but it very much reached a brutal arc, because there was some things that I couldn't believe I was seeing. Things like cinder blocks was used.
Oh shit.
And a needle was stuck in Swerve's mouth. It was a bit it was intense, and to some wrestling fans it might just be uncomfortable, but it was just so fitting for the rivalry, because when someone is touching an unborn child, and Adam Page, I forgot to say this, in retaliation for that, Adam Page burnt down Swerve's childhood home. And that's one of the greatest segments non-wrestling moments I've seen in AEW's history. You know, it's one of those things where the wrestling escalates so much. Not the wrestling. Sorry, the story outside the ring escalates so much. Now the wrestling inside the ring
is now magnified, because you know the story behind it.
Exactly, it's got to be fit. It's all got to fit.
And that's why the needle's been stuck in his mouth.
Because you can't burn my childhood home, and I can't touch your child, and then we're doing lock up.
Yes.
We're doing wrist lock.
No,
I gotta shoot you. I gotta.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
here's the question on that then. What is your favorite part about wrestling? Is it the storytelling or the actual wrestling inside the ring?
Okay.
Talk to me about
that. So this is funny, because this is like a crazy debate. Some people are like, wrestling does not matter if there's no story to engaging.
Yes.
And some people are like, the story means nothing if the payoff is bad.
Yes.
And I know this is a cop-out.
I like both.
I'm greedy. How greedy? I like both. Please be an athlete. Please be a great wrestler, and please tell stories. Please,
okay,
I'm so sorry.
Fair enough.
My favorite wrestlers gave me both. Stone Cold gave me both. Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Randy. They gave me both. Please give me both. I know it's a cop out, but I genuinely feel like the best thing about wrestling is that it's a mesh of amazing athleticism and beautiful storytelling. And if you don't have one of the two, I don't consider you a good professional wrestler.
So who's done both of them the best? Who's had a great story and had an amazing storyline, but also was an impressive athlete in the ring at their peak?
At their peak,
let's say.
Okay.
And there's a lot. I mean,
there is a lot. I mean, okay. Besides all the aforementioned people like the Rey Mysterios and the Rocks and the Shawns and whatever, I'm going to say Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, depending on which company you watch him in, because he's been in WWE and AEW. Mm-hmm. He's a great storyteller. He's one of the funniest wrestlers ever, but he's also an amazing technician. Another name I'd say is Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. Kurt Angle, who actually was in, like, well, not real wrestling, but like non-scripted wrestling. He was in amateur wrestling and he transitioned to professional wrestling, and he's just one of the best all-round wrestlers ever. One of the great best on the mic, one of the funniest, one of the most intense and scary. Like, brother, when he's wrestling, he's banging them up for real.
Yeah.
Like, he's crazy good at it. And then another wrestler I think I'd say, again, I don't want to mention anyone I've already said, is Eddie Guerrero. Obviously, he passed, but in his prime, he was one of genuinely my favorites. He had, like, the best personality. Like, he was so funny, charismatic, and he was one of the people that you could root for him because of how he would talk on the microphone. Because the whole point of talking on the microphone is just getting people to think, okay, this is why I should root for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And Eddie was so good at that. And then he was also good at making me hate him if he wanted to. And not many are that good at both. So I definitely say Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero will always be like maybe one of my top 5 wrestlers ever. So that does.
Speaking on that, then also about looking forward to wrestling. So I'm seeing a trend of people, like for example Logan Paul, right, going into wrestling, and I'm thinking about where wrestling is heading in the future. So talk to me about what you think the future of wrestling is. Is it going to be more of an entertainment where we're seeing other actors or so, like people who are more geared towards presenting that story and presenting that bravado that will come in to try like make it more of an entertainment thing? Or do you think wrestling is still going to keep its core and remain true to the fans, because at the end of the day the fans are really a part of that cinema that you create? They're really part of that. The audience are really part of that the experience. So where do you think wrestling goes in the future? Do you think it goes more towards the entertainment, or do you think it sticks to its roots?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. I think celebrities are always going to be a thing in wrestling. Logan Paul is one of the best wrestlers, best celebrities to ever wrestle. But there's always been the Mike Tyson. I don't know if Mike Tyson in '98 had a segment with Austin. Mr. T was at the first ever WrestleMania. Yes, Donald Trump was actually there in 2007 in a very weird time in wrestling. So yeah, celebrities will always have that factor, but I don't think it will ever change from what wrestling is supposed to be. I think the idea of celebrities is to have them bring in a newer audience and maybe try and hook them, but it's never to play to their strengths. The celebrities have to kind of come and play by wrestlers' rules, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so they come in and then they inhabit the world that you guys have created.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So is that what you think? So you think it's going to stay where it is? It's never going to develop into something that you don't recognize?
No, I don't think it will ever develop into something I don't recognize. I think when most celebrities come into wrestling, they understand what the game is and they're taught, okay, this is how we do things and blah 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 blah. Before we move on, I just wanted to say, on the women's side of things, there are a few women's wrestlers, because there has been a fantastic women's evolution in wrestling, because quite frankly, WWE did not treat a lot of women's wrestlers right.
Yes.
So, like, oh my god. So, in the mid-2010s, they started to kind of take wrestling a bit more seriously. And there's still a long way to go, but there's some amazing athletes, such as, you know Ric Flair, right?
Yes.
So he has a daughter called Charlotte Flair, who is genuinely like one of the best athletes ever, man or woman.
Really?
She's incredible. There's a superstar by the name of Rhea Ripley, who is, we was talking about baby faces and villains. Well, Rhea Ripley was a villain, but again, she garnered so much popularity, reverence, and respect that she is, man or woman, one of the most popular acts in wrestling today. God, who
Do
are...
they mix it, or is it still like
woman versus woman, man. But yeah, I mean, you have a few segments where a man and a woman may face off and a punch, but it's mainly. But I think the best, what I prefer is that they have woman versus woman more interesting. It's not that woman means something because she fights men. They have now started to see the women's division and treat it with respect. There's Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, who had the first ever all-black woman WrestleMania main event, which was a very significant moment and one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history. So that's one of the things that I've liked about wrestling in the recent years, is like the way women's wrestling has been presented, and it's something I can now show my niece and things in it, because you couldn't really show it before, but
because they're just like, just mad sexualization.
Exactly, so sexualized and stuff. And they were great athletes back in the day, but we were never told that. We was always told that they were just for sex appeal and stuff. So it's nice to see that they're getting presented right.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens with wrestling. I think this conversation has really made me fall in love again, just to see someone excited about wrestling. Makes me excited about wrestling too.
It's going in a boom. It's in a boom period right now. It's very good right now.
Yeah, because I know there was a period of time where wrestling not was down, but it was like less people watched it, because the stories weren't as engaging. But now I'm seeing it come back, and I'm like, man, I'm just excited. I'm just excited to see those these people that you've really grown up with, these characters, man. They're just the best and give you the best feeling, and I think that's so important in the world.
When wrestling is good, there's no feeling like
there's nothing like it. Oh my, there's nothing like it. I don't know
if you saw the clip. Did you see the clip with WrestleMania 40?
No, I haven't.
God, there was this all the old legends started coming out,
really?
and I want to show you it after.
Show me after.
It's like Undertaker, John Cena, The Rock,
shit.
all of them come up with this big. It's just it's like an amazing nostalgia moment.
They create the best experiences. I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Literally, we could talk about wrestling all day. I think literally the whole episode could be about wrestling, and maybe we should do one just about wrestling once I get engaged again. But one thing I did also want to talk about, one thing that I know that we both have a common interest in, is movies. And to make a little bit of a segue from talking about wrestling and people wearing tights and running around to superhero movies.
Two people wearing
tights and running around. I've been fascinated by the development of superhero movies over the last maybe 10 years. Because at the peak of it, everyone I knew was super engaged in superhero movies.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun. We would literally go and just watch every single superhero that came out, all the Marvel movies. I would love the DC movies. But now I've seen a mad decline, and I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to figure out what happened to superhero movies. Not in the sense of the actual the popularity of it, but the quality of it, because I'm seeing there's definitely been a change. My opinion, there's been a change in how they present these characters, and I don't know if they've noticed it, but the audience have reacted very different to it. So the question I have for you is to start at the beginning. What was your experience with superhero movies? Are you a massive fan of it? Has it increased or decreased? And also, what do you think of them today?
Okay. I think with Marvel and the MCU. They definitely had a vision with Thanos, and we all knew that the end game was going to, no pun intended, the end game was going to be, they were all going to fight this massive supervillain, all going to come together. And I honestly feel like, yes, Marvel definitely eventually hit a hot streak where it was just great film after great film after great film after great film. And that was phase 3, from Civil War to, I think, Guardians 2, to Spider-Man, to Thor 3, to Black Panther, to Infinity War, Endgame. There was definitely that hot streak. But before then, it was still hit and miss. It was still, this was great, this wasn't that good. This was good, this was bad. But because we still knew about that goal and what we knew they were building up to something, and I think that allowed us to give them much more grace. I think the problem with Marvel isn't necessarily quality, it's the fact that it feels aimless. Shang-Chi is a good film, but I just don't know what the aim is. I don't know where we're going. It's the same thing with the Loki Disney Plus series. It's the same thing with the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is now Doctor Doom for some reason.
Yeah, this is weird as fuck.
Very odd. But it's just, I don't know where we're going. And I think because we was presented with this aim, and it was just so fun to anticipate, the Guardians are going to meet Iron Man, and what's going to happen when Drax goes to Earth, or Hulk does this, and all the normal things. We don't have that anymore. We don't have anything to look forward to because I don't think people really care about Shuri as Black Panther the way we did about T'Challa. Who else is around?
I don't even know anymore.
Who are the heroes right now?
But they've created so many more. They've created like Miss Marvel. They've created like Captain, like the new Captain America is the black guy.
Oh, Falcon.
The black Captain America.
Here's a question. Okay, then what you said really is an interesting point about how they gave us something to look forward to before, but now they don't do that anymore. Yeah. Do you think it's something that they've messed up in, and how they made us expect this end goal, and now that we don't know what the end goal is, supposedly there is obviously an end goal, right? Because we're building up into, I'm guessing this is phase 5 or whatever the fuck we're in.
Yeah.
But because there is no end goal, do you think now we can't enjoy the movies, or do you think the quality of the movies now, because is that part of it? Is that part of the quality of the movies is that we don't see it being part of this cohesive story? They failed to make that happen, and so that's why we don't like it?
I think the thing is, right, it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe at the end of the day, and you have to do things to justify everything being together. And I think if we have no aim and people are just kind of doing whatever, and the movies quite frankly aren't that good, then you can't justify putting everyone in the same place. And another thing I think they've done wrong is they're mass releasing a lot. It's like 4 projects a year, Disney Plus shows, the CGI.
No one cares. It's too many for people to care about.
It's too much. Like there was this show called Echo.
Yeah. Really? I never heard of that.
Me neither. I haven't seen a single episode. If you asked me 10 years ago, I would have never missed an episode of a Marvel show. But you mass produce and you oversaturate the market, and it does make people just want a break. People will naturally just go, I'm tired of this. But back to your original point about aims, I just think that aims and knowing where we're going just makes everything feel more logical, and it makes things more significant when you build to it. Like, it's nice to build to something rather than for it to just happen. Like, imagine just out of nowhere, oh yeah, you know it's going to be an Avengers film with all these heroes. But that's not what they did. They made an Iron Man, then they made a Thor, then they made a Cap, and they said, you know, they're all going to come together.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Forgot a thought and I don't want to forget it. You mentioned you're right. They were building before. Do you think the playbook has already been done, so they can't do that playbook again? So what other aim? Maybe they are bringing in, but what other aim can they do? Well, where would you take Marvel if you were Kevin Feige and you have all these movies ahead of you? Okay. What aim would you build towards?
Well, okay. I mean, look, this is just an idea, and I'm not ever going to say that I know more than these guys who get paid to do this, but I think the first thing that they need to do is just cut down the amount of heroes they want to introduce to this phase.
Yes.
And I think they need to start knowing the journey they want to take these heroes on, because Scarlet Witch, for example, she goes in circles. She'll start the movie as a villain, then be the hero, then be the villain, then be the hero. You need to know, where do you want to take Scarlet Witch? Do you want her to be the big bad of the MCU? Because if you don't, you have to stop making her make these dumb mistakes and then being like at the end, oh my god, what have I done? What have I done?
My children, my husband.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, you can't keep making her do that. Like, we need to know where this journey is supposed to take certain superheroes. So I think the first thing that they need to do is to just write up, okay, who do we value? Who's going to stay? Who's going to die? Who do we think is going to be the faces of the MCU? Because we had faces of the MCU. We had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, our big 3. I don't think we have a big 3. Now, we have to give a bit of grace, because I think Chadwick Boseman was definitely supposed to be one of the big 3. Obviously, untimely passing. It was probably supposed to be him, Brie Larson, Tom Holland. Okay, well, we have Brie, we have Tom. Who's going to be the third big head? We need to start understanding where we are going to take this universe, and we need to start knowing who are the leaders, who's going to be in the background, who's going to be the villains, because everything is just too chaotic. And honestly, I think if some characters just don't fit in the story, there's nothing wrong with just not using them.
Who would you let go? Who would you get rid of?
Who would I let go? That's a good question.
Because I'm thinking, like, fuck, like, because there's so many, you're right, there's so many. I think I'd let go of Falcon, to be fair.
I was going to say I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it, but I don't see where he fits in. I don't see Falcon fitting in for me. I don't get it. His film might be really good, but don't see it. I don't know why we have so many Miss Marvels.
Yes.
I think
We don't
need that, and they were the same ability. Like,
see, okay, this is what I think, right?
And it's us as superhero fans thinking about this logically as like this is what we do superheroes, and I'm thinking the conglomerate of Disney is thinking about this as a business. They're going, we need more female heroes, we need more black representation, and they're going, but we're going, wait, no, this doesn't work, we're just comic book fans, we just want comic book stories. And so it's like the Disney fucking machine churning out all these movies because they think, you know what, there is going to be an audience that likes this, and probably there is. If you have such a massive audience, there's going to be maybe 5% of them that like these movies, but in the totality of it, when you step back, you go, none of this makes sense. Where is this heading, like you're saying? So I think there needs to be an admission from Disney if they're actually making this a superhero cinematic universe which is focused on the art, or just some one of their products which they can just keep making money of, because I think that's what they always mess up on. They don't know which way to go. I think before with Marvel, when they had Iron Man and all these things, it was so obvious because they could do both, because the art was so good that it just made the product easier to consume. But now with the art not being so that good anymore, I think that's what they feel. They just feel like in order to make up for the amount of money that we put into this, we have to find some other way in order to, so they just make so many. But then retroactively, people just go like, what the fuck are we watching? None of this make any sense. I don't care about who the fuck this Marvel, this, and then even the superhero, the characters don't make sense. So I'm stuck here thinking, do you really care about these superheroes, or are you just done? Are you just done after Endgame? Do you think they can like bring it back? Do you think there is hope to bring it back now that they've released all these movies already?
That's a good question. I will say it doesn't look good.
It's not looking good, bro.
I don't think they're going to fix it in this phase. What I hope is that whatever this big team up film is, there's a lot of cutting, and they kind of
kill a lot of people.
Kinda. Like, I think they've got to clean up that plate. There's too much things going on. There's too much weird things that don't make sense. I still don't know why they had to kill off Black Widow in Endgame. I thought it was weird. And I think what they need to do, I think they can come back. They've just got to kind of see through this bad era, if that makes sense. They got to see it through. But even the bad era is not that bad. We still had Spider-Man.
Yes.
Still had Deadpool Wolverine is really fun. Guardians 3 is amazing. So there's still stuff there. It's just that era, that boom periods, we're going to have to kind of see through the bad, and then when they get the light again, it'll probably be good. And they need to get some more inspired directors, because they just, oh god, yeah, it's just the same thing.
Do you think there's still an appetite for superhero movies, just in general, not just moving past Marvel, even DC? Do you think people still want superhero movies, or do you think
I don't think the appetite is as potent. I don't know if that's the word. But I think there's always going to be that desire for people will always turn up for superhero films. There will always be that culture of I got to see what Deadpool's doing. I got to see what Wolverine's doing. I got to see what Iron Man. There's always going to be that. But I don't think there's just that burning desire anymore. Because I do think in a lot of ways we're very satisfied. We got great movies out of this boom period. From Dark Knight, Logan, Endgame, Infinity War, Black Panther, like we got a lot. So there is that feeling of, okay, we did have our time with a lot of fans, but then there's always going to be the fans that just want more and more and more and more and more. So yeah, I do think there is an appetite. I just don't think the appetite is as much.
To end in a positive, then, what is your favorite superhero movie and why?
Ooh, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
Why?
I love that film. That one in Civil War. Guardians of the Galaxy one is just like, I feel like it's almost every kind of movie. I feel like I can watch it on a Saturday morning and I can watch it on a Friday night. It's got that kind of, it's very blockbuster and it's very irreverent, but then it's very Disney at the same time. It walks that line very well, I love how the characters are. I love how they engage with each other. I love the depth. It's got for me, Star-Lord and Gamora got the best romantic chemistry of all the Marvel couples. The villain isn't good in that first one, but I love Drax. I remember really only watching it because I thought, wow, okay, Batista's acting now, and then I just ended up falling in love with all the characters.
Yeah.
The whole Guardians trilogy, I think I just put in a very special, because I don't know, I like it in a different way than I like other superhero films. You know, that feels like Star Wars to me. It's not. You know, it's got that
There's
type
that
of
personal connection you have towards it.
Exactly.
It's not just a blockbuster you go to watch with your
exactly.
friends.
You know, I don't look at it and go, "Oh, how does this link to Thanos?" And I'm just like, I love the journey that Gamora goes through. I love the journey that Star-Lord goes through. And that's another thing. That's what I was saying before. It's about the journey. I need to respect and love the journey these characters go through. Don't just... And sometimes I feel like a lot of these films betray their journeys. Scarlet Witch will go through this journey of, okay, now I know what it's like to be a superhero. Okay, I'm going to kill everyone. No. Like, they just keep going back and forth. It's like, I love the journey and the trajectory that all these Guardians characters have. So... that's why I have such a respect. Like, Guardians 2 makes me like Guardians 1 more. You know, because of the journey they keep on going through. So, yeah, I would say Guardians 1 is probably my favorite superhero film of all time. What's yours?
So it's weird. It's so... I'm gonna say Endgame. I'm telling. I know it's like, because you know what it is. You know what it is, and I'm the reason I say it's weird too, because I completely agree with what you just said about Guardians, and I really love those type of movies. Like, I'm a fan of movies, so when I see a movie that's like personal, that feels like a film, you know, not like just a cinematic experience, but a film you can sit there and watch and actually enjoy. I really respect that. But to me, what Endgame did in the time, I think it has to be something where you have to experience in that time. When I went to the cinema and everything that had come before it, and the expectation was like peak high, and then the ending of the movie wants to kill everyone off, and I just sat there thinking, holy shit. Like, holy fucking shit.
It was a freaking finale.
It was like the finale of something. It was just like they put their fucking thing up so high and they just managed to get over it just to the end. Whatever came out and they brought everyone back and whatever, it is what it is. But I feel like, to me, that was one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. And to me, that's what superhero movies are supposed to be. Like, let me just give you fun, but also let me just teach you something about life and not berate you over the head of it. You know?
And that's what I like a lot about Marvel films. They actually do have lessons and journeys and things you can invest in, but it's not pretentious. It doesn't beat you over the head with it. I love that about Guardians 1. I love what Endgame does for me. I love the emotional journeys it takes me through, because it doesn't force it. You know, it actually feels natural when it's done well. At least.
When it's done well. And speaking of emotional journeys, I wanted to talk about romantic films. On the other side of that, terrible segue, but we were over it. On the other side of that, I think, because I want to move into the role that movies play for us, right? And how movies can make us feel a certain type of way, and how we connect to them in real life. What are some of the, if you were a fan, what are some of the romantic films growing up that you watched that shaped your view on relationships, maybe, or maybe like made you think about love in a different way? What are some of those films for you?
Okay, so it's weird because I don't necessarily hate romance films. I just wouldn't call it my favorite genre. Now, off the top of my head, I think it's weird. I think I can tell you romantic couples that I like in films more than romantic films, if that makes sense. So, as far as couples are concerned, I loved the Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz in The Mask. I thought they had great chemistry. I loved how fun they were together. I loved the bit where they're dancing like idiots. The other one, it's actually a romance film, is Jim and Kate Winslet in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which I would probably consider my favorite romance film. I'd say that would be my favorite romance film. But that's something I didn't watch until I was an adult, obviously, but I just really liked how they presented a toxic relationship. I liked how it linked to Jim Carrey's characters, his what's the word? Maybe untapped trauma. Like, he didn't tap into certain things about his childhood, and that caused so much issues for him in a relationship. Kate Winslet is really good as Clementine as well. I love her character so much. That would probably be my favorite romance film. I liked how they presented a toxic relationship, and I always talk about walking the line of, you don't finish that movie and think, okay, they're not actually supposed to be together. You know, they have problems, but they should work it out, because they are good people at heart. So I would probably say Eternal Sunshine. Half a couples, obviously.
That's brilliant. I want to stay on that. If you don't
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Because I want to go off that, man. I didn't even think of that when you mentioned this. This is taking me into a whole different direction. Bro, like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, when I first saw it, it was one of my favorite movies, just period.
Me too.
I think what it does really, really, really well is the feeling it gives you. And I think that's like that's like arbitrary to say. It doesn't really matter. That's how to explain. But like the feeling of those two characters going through the struggle, like you said, seeing his trauma, and when he was a kid, whatever, hanging under the table, not feeling like he can ever come out, like be that sure himself really, and then seeing how Clementine represents his mother, like that level of abstraction make you think that okay, like that's what they're trying to say, but it doesn't even say in the movie. It's something you have to recognize after when you look back on the movie. And that scene, man, there's a scene where Clementine's like leaving, and no, there's two scenes I really like. There's one scene where she's like, I'm not a concept. I'm just a person trying to find myself. That scene. That I've felt that and I've heard that and I've experienced that in real life. Literally. Not saying word for word, but girls have said that. A girl especially like, no, I said that. And it's like, because I know that I tend to romanticize things. And again, this is why it comes back to like why I wanted to ask this question, because I know that things like that, things like movies like that, give us an understanding about ourselves. I tend to romanticize things when it comes to love, and I've felt that the people that I'm drawn to tend to be like Clementine, who like to romanticize. But then in a sense, they're also human beings that are like, don't romanticize me, I'm just a person. I'm also going through my shit, you know, and like having that kind of dynamic shown to me on screen completely blew my mind.
Give you a wake up call, maybe make you think, let me chill. Let me chill. I know exactly what you mean, man. I know exactly what you mean. But I think for me, a character like Clementine, I'll be honest, me too, I've known some Clementines in my life. There's a lot of Clementines out there. But yeah, I do get what you mean. Sometimes you can find yourself romanticizing, and maybe the idea of love or the idea of a relationship is better than an actual relationship, you know? And I think the issue may be that you either look for someone to save or someone to save you. It's like, that's not really how relationships should go. You know, it's not healthy. And I think Eternal Sunshine is very good at exposing that sometimes your idea of things can be very detrimental to your relationship, especially when the other person isn't willing to conform to that. Because Clementine wanted someone super open, super this, but he wasn't that guy. He wasn't that guy. You tried to make him that guy, but he isn't that guy. And then vice versa. Jim Carrey wanted just some girl to save. I forgot his name in the film. What was it?
I have no idea now. We know Clementine, but I forgot.
Joel. I think it's Joel. I think it's Joel. Right. But yeah, like, you know, so I like that. Another romance film that I enjoy, and I need you to stay with me. It's called The Girl Next Door, and basically the film is a high schooler. He falls in love with a girl,
I think I've seen this.
Well, he finds out that his girlfriend is a former porn star.
Yes, I've seen this.
Which is not why I like the film. That's just the backstory. That's not.
No, so that's like the end scene.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's actually not on. I mean,
actually no, it's not. Actually, he finds out. Like,
he finds out in the beginning, but it's just. I think they have great chemistry, and I think even that type of character. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. I'm not saying a porn star is my type of woman.
You don't have to like.
But the personality that Danielle portrays is very much someone that I find interesting.
What's the personality?
Well, she's very spontaneous. She's very exciting. Like you know, there's a scene where they drive into this random person's house and they're in the pool and stuff.
Starts, like,
okay, not stripping, but just the spontaneity. I'm in trouble, man. I don't know how I'm gonna. You know, the spontaneity of the character. She's very three-dimensional. She's got a lot of layers to her.
What does that represent? Okay, here's the question then. I'm going to try and save you a little bit.
What is that? Because you mentioned that movie, and I am 100%. I agree with you. And the end song's fantastic too.
Oh, yes,
like the end scene, the end song, that movie. I remember, like, no one's ever seen. I've actually watched that film, so it's crazy you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, and I think what you're trying to head is the way characters in certain movies make you feel. Like the way the characters in the movie resonate with you. And it's like, it's a weird feeling when you meet a character or you see a character in a movie where they will resonate with you, even in that short time like so much that it's almost like they're real, and it's like obviously you almost end up looking for someone like that in real life, and that's where the difficult thing when it comes to about watching these kind of films and being growing up on these kind of films, I think starts, because it's like when I was growing up, I was looking for someone like Clementine, because that was one of my favorite movies. I was like, I want that dynamic, not knowing that dynamic was not supposed to represent, it was just it was supposed to be a lesson, you know. And what some of those kind of things for you, where you've seen these dynamics in movies, and then as you go on older, you kind of seen, oh, like, okay, like maybe I wanted that, but actually when I got it, or maybe when I got older, I saw that is actually. And another example of that is 500 Days of Summer.
Oh my God, yes.
To me, that movie was one of my favorite movies. I wanted that what's her name? The girl from...
I don't know her name. I know her name is Zooey Deschanel in real life,
yes,
but I don't know her
yes.
name. Oh, it's Summer. Her name is Summer.
Summer, yes.
Her name is
Summer, yeah, her. Like, and I wanted her to be represented again in my real life, and then because it's not possible, because that person is not real. Yeah, and like, what have you learned from seeing those characters like Summer, like Clementine, and growing up and seeing, okay, how that's really affected your outlook on relationships, and what have you learned from that?
I do feel like with romance films, it's very easy to believe that one big expression and one big, oh, this is how I feel, solves all problems. Like, if you run to them and you say the right things, say the right time, then you're gonna have a hug and a kiss, and everything's gonna be happy. Like, you know, you ain't gonna do no more work after that. That is a lie. That is a lie. The movie's lied to you. You know. I think the problem with romance films is it makes things feel too easy. It makes things feel, and I think the another thing is everything is in montage, you know, like, oh, you know, they wear suits. Have you seen shopping montages, right?
Yes.
There's a big funny music, and then oh, this is great.
Clothes,
Shop. You really shop in real life. There's no music playing, you know. You're tired. You are tired. That's romance. There's no music. You don't hear music in the background. You are tired. You are tired, and that's
you don't want to be there.
You don't want to. Well, okay.
Hey, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there.
Oh my God.
So, you man.
But like, that's the thing. It's just like and I think the problem is sometimes if you do, and this is something I had to learn. Like, you do have to kind of understand that you can't put women on pedestals. You shouldn't put anyone on pedestals. And number two, you can't think it's going to be easy. And number three is, you do have to understand when something is your fault. And I'll be very honest, in a lot of the situations I've gotten myself in, it has been my fault. Some of them have been my fault.
What have you learned on that topic? What have you learned from relationship? What's some of the things that you can impart onto me or onto the audience about relationships?
First thing I'm going to say is make sure the person make sure it's easy for them to like you. Make sure they don't grow to like you, and that might be something that's hard to figure out. But I would say if you're not the person's type,
it's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work.
Even if you do make it work, it's not gonna work.
Even if you make it work, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Make sure that you guys, and I don't mean that necessarily in like finding you good looking, but like in personalities, like the personalities need to match. You don't necessarily need a twin. Sometimes yin and yangs work, but make sure you two, like, as much as I was saying things shouldn't be easy, they also should be easy. Like, talking to your girl should be easy. Communicating with your girl should be easy. You should have the same principles, have the same values, have the same morals. There are certain things that you can afford to have be different, and that there are certain things that should not be different. Know what your non-negotiables are, and know who you are, or try to, before you get into a relationship. Because sometimes if you end up finding out who you are in the relationship, you might find out that the person you're with doesn't complement that. And that's a big kaboom. And also, if you're not happy, just go. Don't waste time. Just go.
That's fucking beautiful, man. And I 100% agree.
Right now. Go right now. End the video. Pause the video and go.
Send that text quickly. Come back. Send that text or give them a call. Don't text. Okay. Move to the next topic. So this one actually, but I'm going to swap around. I want to talk about something first, but I actually want to bring the pop stars into this first. So I think, speaking on the last conversation we have about not romanticizing and putting girls on pedestals and not romanticizing love and everything. One thing that I found out, another thing that does that is pop music.
Okay.
And I think that especially for me growing up, there was a sense that pop music was a representation of how people felt, and it's like this is how they feel, and then this is how everyone feels, and you see the biggest pop stars, you go, this is how our generation of women feel, or whatever, or whoever it is. First off, let's start from the beginning. What was your introduction to pop music? What was that like for you getting into pop music? Maybe it's been a resurgence, I think you mentioned. Was it like for you to now see that, listen to these type of songs and be like, actually these are actually really bangers, like these are actually really good. What's that like for you, and what have you learned?
Okay. So I grew up with an older sister, and I was like, we had a bunk bed, me and my older sister. So basically, I liked the music that I ended up liking the music that she liked. So she was a massive fan of Spice Girls, as was my mum. So I was introduced to them very early. I'm not too sure what I liked. I wasn't too sure what I liked about them until maybe a few months ago, but someone said something about not liking pop music, and they were like, oh, I don't really like pop music because I can't relate to it. And I realized something. I see music, wrestling, movies, whatever, differently to other people. I don't like to relate as much as I like to detach. So to an extent, I do like to relate to an extent, but I like to detach and live maybe fantastical. Live in a fantasy. Like Rey Mysterio's 5'6" beating up 6'5" people. That doesn't really happen. But in wrestling it does.
It does, in wrestling, exactly.
Spider-Man is 15 years old and he's a nerd and he's
like
with Zendaya.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. But and I think I like entertainment products that put me in a bit of a fantasy world. They make things feel okay and make things feel and obviously we talked about the danger of expecting that in real life, but as a music form it is so nice hearing a song that makes you forget of what's going on outside.
What's some examples for that, for Spice Girls or anyone?
Spice Girls, a song that just feels very unbelievably positive is Spice Up Your Life, and it's literally just a song about everyone in the world coming together. Black people, literally black people, white people, people from Asia, we're all coming together to sing along to Spice Girls. That's the song. And it's so funny. And then the hook by Melby says like, colors of the world, every boy and every girl, people in the world, and it's like, and everyone's gonna spice up their life and everything's fun because everyone loves Spice Girls, right? Like some fantasy land, but it worked, and it did put people in a very positive mindset. My favorite group growing up and even now was Girls Aloud. I think Girls Aloud are like genuinely like incredible artists. I went to see them in concert with my older sister, and that's generally one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Talk to me about Girls Aloud. I have no experience.
Girls Aloud, you what?
I know about them. Is it from Britain's Got Talent or some shit like that? Or X Factor? Or maybe worse. They weren't from there.
So there was a show called Pop Star The Rivals, and it was basically a game show to make the next group, and it's like X Factor, but for 5 women to be in a group. So we had to vote them in to get into a group. I actually remember seeing them formed on television. With my sister and my brother. Like I saw them get introduced. Oh, that show, that's Kimberly. I didn't expect them to be. I mean, I was 5 years old. I wasn't expecting anything, but not a lot of people were expecting them to be anything more than maybe a one-hit wonder. And then they came out with songs on the Underground, which is like, it is a pop song, but it's like so different from your regular pop song. It's got a grunge to it, it's got an attitude to it, it's edgy, and what I love about it is just how creative it is. And I think Girls Aloud are generally regardless of genre, one of the most creative art acts ever.
Really?
Their writing scheme, you don't know where they're going to go with it. If you hear a song for the first time, you have no idea where they're going to go. There's a song called Biology, which is basically 3 beats and 3 different songs in one. And I've never heard that in a pop song. The only time I heard it was Travis Scott and Sicko Mode.
Yeah, that's true.
And they did it 20 years before.
What's the best album? You won the
best album of Girls Aloud.
Yeah.
Of Girls Aloud.
Give Girls Aloud.
I'd rather give you singles. Best singles Girls Aloud ever had: Sound of the Underground, Call the Shots, The Show, The Show is the reason I really became a fan of them. That is one of my favorite songs. I love. Oh my god. Yeah. Let me stay focused. Let me stay focused. So what was it? So I said The Show, Sound of the Underground. The Show, Sound of the Underground, The Promise. Oh my god, how can I forget The Promise? Sound of the Underground, The Promise, The Show. Wait, there was one I just said.
I don't know. I forgot.
Oh my god. Oh, that no, I forgot. That's annoying.
It's fine.
I just said okay. So top 5: The Show, Sound of the Underground,
Yes.
The Promise,
Yeah.
Something Kind of Ooh, and
There's so many to pick from.
I'll be so honest. There's so many I could pick from.
I can see your mind just.
Oh my god. I'm gonna say Quarter Shots.
Quarter Shots.
And what's gonna be so crazy is you're gonna hear these songs and they're almost gonna sound nothing alike. I'm being deadly serious. Sound of the Underground, The Show, Quarter Shots, The Promise, Something Kind of Ooh, none of them sound alike.
What do you think is because the stereotype is that all pop songs sound alike. Why do you think that is, and what do you think differentiates Girls Aloud from all these other pop?
I think pop music, in many ways, like we were talking about before, it puts you in the same enchanting paradise element to it. And I do think there's similarities, but I think when you are a true, because I used to say the same thing about drill, about Amapiano, but they don't sound the same. When you really listen to it, you start to hear intricacies and differences, and it's like, oh no, that's not the same. Now I can identify Amapiano. I used to never be able to identify it. Now I'm a baby. Even. I even know that. I even know that. I even know the dance with it, but yeah, like it's one of those things that when you start to understand and learn the culture. You know that things are different. When I was young, I used to think MF Doom and Mos Def were kind of similar, but I'm like, and now I can't even believe I used to think that. You know what I mean? So all of these things have their different thing, and I think what I like is entering all these different genres and kind of engage with it. But what makes Girls Aloud different is their writing scheme, because even though pop music, I did say they have intricacies, there is a similarity in verse, hook, bridge, hook, and then we go home. Girls Aloud, for example, Biology, verse 1 on one beat, the beat switches, there's another verse, then it's the hook, then it's the bridge, then it's the hook again.
So it just completely
shifts it around, and it works. And everyone, like, they have little interludes, like they have rap bits in it, like it felt like that those 5 women and the writing team behind them were trying to push the envelope on what is pop music. The Promise has a type of jazz intro to it. Sound of the Underground is very rock. And then you have The Show, which is like synth pop. And then you have Quarter Shots, which is like a bit of a funky ballad. Like this is all the same artist. And this is in the space of what? This isn't like they had a 20-year career. I think they started in 2002 and ended in 2008. It's like 6 years.
Shit.
6 years. They made an album in 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08. And every year they're changing things. Every year the envelope is being... I remember hearing a song called Sexy No No No. I had no idea what I was listening to. I was like, I can't believe they made this song. I was like, what are they doing? But it works. They had so much respect, and at the same time, and this is my favorite word, irreverence. It's both reverence and irreverence for pop music. And they made the genre bend to their will, and that's why I genuinely believe like they're like some of the best acts of music I've ever heard.
All right, on that topic then, who do you think is the most influential pop artist group, and why? And I know we've talked about this a little bit before, and okay, I'll give you some examples and some people that I've been thinking about, right? So obviously Taylor Swift is insane in terms of popularity. She's just out of and I think let's make it like pre-2000s. We're talking about Destiny's Child, I don't even know if the R&B. The R&B. See, again, this is what I mean. This is the point I'm trying to make. The blurred lines these pop stars can able to inhabit different, because we say Taylor Swift, but she could be country if she wants to. Yeah. So it's like all these different things that they inhabit is very difficult to place them in a box, right? So, and obviously Adele, we spoke about too, Adele. And but do you think, actually here's a better question, do you think now we're moving into an era where pop stars unlike these Destiny's Childs and all these other ones, are being more put into a box where now they represent something. So, for example, Sabrina Carpenter, I've not listened to much of her music, but I see from the marketing that she's been presented as, is presented as like, this is the pop artist of our generation, of our era, that's of the now, and she represents it in the, you know, the marketing, the TikToks, all of these things. Talk to me about that. What have you seen as being the transition of pop music into what it is now?
Okay, well, I will start off in saying that I'm not the most well versed in pop. Like, I know who I know, and like, you know, but I will say what I've gathered from what I do know, I do feel like pop artists are offered a bit of a blank canvas, and they are kind of allowed to jump in and out of the genre a little bit. Now that because, you know, Adele is pop, and then she's soul, and then she's jazz, and then Taylor's pop and country, like you said. And like I said, Girls Aloud, like, they're pop, but they dabble in rock type, grungy beats. So I do kind of understand what you mean. As far as the most influential, as far as groups, it's always going to be Spice Girls, because they were... Oh.
I got it. See, we're nearly there.
We're nearly there. Okay.
Keep going. It'll keep recording.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as far as groups, Spice Girls. Taylor Swift is crazy influential. Throwback, Madonna was like gone. Like, everyone. Like outrageously popular.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mum like Madonna. She was one of those artists who pushed the envelope a lot. Even the concepts in the music that they talk about, it's just like, I do feel like they are offered a bit of a blank canvas. Now that I think about it.
Is that still the case, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you look at artists like Sabrina Carpenter, yeah, she's pop, but then you have a song like Please, 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 which is a bit country-esque, and the things they can talk about now, they can kind of push. Now they can swear. They didn't really swear back in the day. Now they can swear, probably because of the hip hop's influence, if that makes sense, you know, maybe to be a bit more authentic in their writing. So maybe you can still keep that fantastical element, but then just have that bit of realism in it. And I think hip hop's influence has definitely allowed pop stars to kind of push the envelope a bit, because Sabrina Carpenter saying "mother trucker" is like, whoa. Like, you know, so
you used to be a Disney star.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I saw you on Boy Meets World. What are you doing?
Okay.
But Sabrina Carpenter's album was great, by the way.
Check out Sabrina Carpenter on posters on a poster near you. You will not be able to go home. This is crazy. Okay, moving on. You mentioned hip hop, and that's giving me a great segue to the way I wanted to end this one. So recently, we've had chaos in the hip hop scene. Indeed, absolute chaos. So to give you context, I know you probably know, but to give you context. One day, Kendrick woke up and decided to choose violence and burn the whole shit down. He went after Drake. They went to few back and forths. Chaos ensued. Not Like Us dropped, and since then everything's been kind of quiet. But I wanted to come back, and now it gives me a great opportunity to talk about this, because now we can actually have a conversation about these two artists. And I know the beef is done.
Yep.
As a Drake fan, and I've said this many times, as a Drake fan, I think he lost the beef, but I think the argument of him losing as an artist is not really been developed. It's not really been had, right? Because everyone just goes, yeah, he's lost because he's lost. And I think that we have that recency effect where it's like the most recent crazy moment is what we decide is bring the whole career.
Okay.
But I wanted to get into it now. Talk to me about those two, but also what do you think separates Kendrick and Drake as artists? Who do you think is the better artist, and why? And lastly, what your thoughts on the beef was?
Ooh, okay, this is a very loaded question. Okay, I will start off in saying that one thing that beef proved is that Kendrick Lamar and Drake, no matter how you order it, are the number one and number two of this generation of hip hop.
Crazy, isn't it?
Drake is better than A$AP, better than Rick Ross, better than Meek Mill, better than all of the guys that came in the same era. Undisputedly, for me, better than them, except Kendrick. Now, Kendrick is where the dispute happens.
Yes.
That's why I say they're number one and number two. Kendrick won the beef. No doubt about that. And while I believe Kendrick is the better rapper, I do believe tactics was the best, was Kendrick's greatest weapon. If someone comes out of that beef and says to me, I still think Drake is a better rapper, I completely understand that because Drake was rapping, like he was going crazy. Where he made there was many.
What do you think he made a mistake? Go on,
he aimed at too many people.
But they came all at him though.
No, but
here's
the thing. Push-ups, I completely understood had to be at a lot of people. I also don't like that it was called push-ups. I thought it was a bit of a boring title. But he aimed at too many people, and I feel like after push-ups was understandable. Everyone's saying something at me. Okay, I'm gonna say something back. No one expected Drake to say anything after push-ups. Family Matters should have been just like, even though that bit where he's going at everyone is incredible, we didn't need it. We didn't need it. That was unnecessary at that point. And it got to a bit where it was like you're just talking about the same people now. And
here's a question, not to interrupt. Do you think his tactics, talk about tactics again, his tactic, if I make it seem like it's 12-on-1, it makes it seem like you man are going wild, and even if I lose, I tried.
That's what I think his tactic was. I think a big thing about Drake in this game was if I get respect just for taking on 20 people. And here's another thing, because you're saying they went at him, but he's gone at them beforehand, and they've responded. It isn't like a lot of these people randomly just had a beef with him. And remember, they all said the same thing. You sneak diss us. They all said the same thing.
He's been doing that.
So I do think maybe to an extent Drake may be thinking tactically, if I lose this battle, it doesn't look that bad because I took on 20 guys. But then it's Kendrick. But then here's the thing, and I'll say this to Drake's defense: Family Matters wipes out 99.99999% of the rap game. But that 0.1% is the boogeyman. Crazy. That guy is to release a diss song 20 minutes after you put your whole energy into a diss.
So much.
That is one of the craziest tactics I've ever seen. By the way, I knew that was gonna happen.
You did. You thought that's what it was gonna do. Just drop.
Me and my little brother, we theorized when 616 in LA dropped. I said
he's got another one.
And I said Drake will definitely drop because it's Friday, and Drake loves a Friday drop. And I said to myself, if I know that, Kendrick knows it. I swear to you, I swear.
That's so crazy.
I said if I know that Kendrick knows that he's gonna drop something. We weren't even shocked when Meet the Grahams dropped. But Not Like Us, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when Not Like Us dropped. When Not Like Us dropped, I said, what?
He dropped 2.
I was so shocked when Not Like Us dropped. I said, this is unbelievable. And I said, go on.
No, go on, you go.
And I said, what on earth is going to happen? Because do you know what it is? Meet the Grahams was like the scariest, hauntingest thing ever. I literally remember hearing that song. And I said, I don't even want to hear anymore. Can we just stop? Please, let's just stop it, okay? Let's stop it. And then Not Like Us, and it's like the most 180, because now it's like the most fun song I've ever heard. Like I've gone from hearing a song and going, I never want to hear this again, it's too scary, to I can't stop playing this song because it's so addictive. So now we're gonna hear it at the Super Bowl. There are going to be 80,000 people calling your favorite rapper a pedophile.
That's the craziest part. That's the craziest part. You know what's crazy too? As a Drake fan, you have to respect it. Like, you have to respect the Meet the Grahams. You're like, okay, cool, Kendrick doing Kendrick. He's doing that little psychological evaluation shit, bro. Like, you can't really help that. Like, what are you supposed to do?
He's doing it scary.
He's talking to your mum and your dad. Fucking out, Kendrick. Leave him out. But then he comes back with a hit, and that's Drake's playing field. And I think he knew that. I can't, like, whatever. Your fans will never rate me even if I do the psychological thing.
But if I give them a banger,
they will respect it. Because even they like bangers. And that's the crazy part.
But then this poses the question of why didn't Drake do that?
Why didn't respect it? I think Family Matters was supposed to be like, done now, you're done, you don't have anything, you're washed, let's come back for round 2, I'm going to go on holiday. But then he didn't expect, I think even in his wildest dreams, he didn't expect him to make a banger. Like, Not Like Us is so good that, like, everyone changed their mind. Everyone.
What? Oh my! That's crazy. Did you hear that? That is crazy. The birds, I swear to God, the birds was doing what with me. Did you? I don't know if they I hope they might caught it. That is crazy. But yeah, I agree. That's exactly what happened. A lot of Drake fans or a lot of people who maybe weren't that big on Kendrick are now Kendrick fans because of that song. And I think it's such a testament to the writing of Kendrick, and I think why I'm gonna say this beef may have made Kendrick the winner in He's a Better Rapper is just how dynamic his songs were. Euphoria,
Yes.
616 in LA, Meet the Grams, like they're not the same song.
Yes.
They're not. Push-Ups and Family Matters are going for the same thing.
Yes.
Heart Part 6 and Taylor Made, they're going for the same.
Yeah.
All these songs Kendrick have, they've got something different to them. You can say your favorite song in that beef, because let's even talk about Euphoria.
Yeah.
Euphoria is crazy.
And also 616 is fucking banging. Like 616 in, was it LA?
Yeah.
That's a banger. Like that's another banger.
Incredible. All of them are incredible songs. Even taking the beef away, just incredible music. The thing with Drake is, I say Drake was 2 for 4. Push-Ups was very good, and Family Matters was amazing. But Taylor Made Freestyle, he made very bad mistakes. Trying to 8 Mile you talking to young girls will never work.
Yeah.
It would never. He tried to do the Eminem thing. It doesn't work, because the thing that people don't understand about 8 Mile is that works because his opponent wasn't a good rapper.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my god, I'm shocked. Because that was a rapper who only wanted shock value.
Yes.
Kendrick is not a crap rapper. Kendrick is a very skilled lyricist. So he's gonna go, actually, yes, let's talk about it.
You are a pedophile.
Like, yeah, you're right, actually. I was just about to get to that. Thank you for doing that. And now, and you know what it is as well, why Drake even set himself up, because people can't go, Kendrick did a gossip thing. Kendrick did.
Yeah,
you told him to.
Up, yeah. I think he thought, you know what? He thought, I know where he's gonna go. Again, I think he underestimated the Not Like Us. He thought, you know what? You're just gonna rap about me being a pedo. I'm gonna say it here. But if you put in a banging song, I'm gonna say it and dance. You can't help it.
Yeah, and what even made it worse is Not Like Us and Meet the Grams was so scathing that Drake's response with the Heart Part 6 basically had to be an explanation.
Yes. And it's like, you can't explain in the right beat.
Like, this is the thing. But this is why I say it was such a checkmate. You cannot ignore those allegations, but you also cannot respond to them. It was the craziest checkmate. No matter what, he was doomed. I remember someone even saying that to me. They were like they were arguing on Drake's behalf why Drake won, right? And they were like, I said, it's weird to make a song basically denying allegations. And they'd said to me, but if he didn't deny it, you would have said, why hasn't he denied it? And I said, that's the point. The point is that Kendrick trapped him. Kendrick trapped him. It's a checkmate.
What do you think happens now with their legacy? Okay, moving, like, the beef has happened. They're done. I think they're trying to guy up it round 2. No one really cares as much.
I don't need that.
But what do you think happens for their legacy now? I think these people are still, like, at their peak of their career. I think they still got, Kendrick's going to bring out an album. Drake's going to come back with an album. Do you think that's now solidified them as 1 and 2? Do you think Drake cannot do anything to now surpass that? Or do you think if Drake comes out of a song that exposes Kendrick in the hypothetical world, that people will flip? Or do you think that's just set in stone now? It's not going to go back?
As far as the rap beef is concerned, no one's mind, unless you are completely neutral, your mind didn't change. If you was a Drake fan before, you're a Drake fan after. If you was a Kendrick fan before, you're a Kendrick fan after. You may look at them differently, depending on what you believe. But that hasn't changed. Drake is still number 1 to you. Kendrick is still number 1 to me. I think as far as the rap game is concerned, I think we have to say in the sphere of the rap game, Kendrick is probably 1 over Drake. As far as who won the argument, it's like Messi and Ronaldo, right? It's like I might prefer Ronaldo, but we know who won the war. Messi won. And that's how I feel. I feel like Kendrick is the Messi and Drake is the Ronaldo of this.
The question I ask, sorry to interrupt again, is how are we judging that? Are you judging it over the course of their career and the rap just like
I think
cherry on top?
I think the course of their careers made them equal, because things that Drake was capable of doing, Kendrick wasn't, and things that Kendrick was capable of doing, Drake wasn't.
But then when you go at each other,
and now Kendrick has proved that he's capable of Drake things. But I'll put it this way: Kendrick did a 616 in LA, covering timestamps, and it was brilliant. Drake did the Heart Part 6, and it was one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life.
That's true. But he couldn't. Like, there was nothing he could do.
That basically says it there.
There was nothing.
Kendrick showed that as much as Drake has, he's got just that much more.
A little bit more, yeah. A little bit more, yeah.
So, and obviously I'm not saying don't have Drake as your number 1, because Drake is still an incredible artist.
Yeah, but I know exactly what
But in the sphere of the rap game, you just see Kendrick ticks more boxes, and I believe Kendrick is number 1, Drake is number 2, and then J. Cole is like all the way down here. Backing out of the beef is crazy.
Bro, but he was smart.
He was.
Retrospectively.
He was. He saw the future. He definitely saw the future. And I think he was okay with the rap beef, but I think he knew how crazy it was going to get. And he doesn't want to be involved in that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be because imagine Kendrick putting you in the same. Because look at Baka.
Yeah, fuck, bro.
Or Chubbs.
But
Imagine.
all of them, he put the fucking thing on the whole house. Bro, these are like real people with families, and he just called all of you pedos. Anyway.
But yeah. Also, you said something about Drake putting out another
album and stuff like that. What happens to legacies now? How do we receive?
I'm not sure what the commercial success of Drake is going to be, and I'm not saying he won't do well commercially, but I know a few of his recent songs haven't charted well. But I don't know if a real album run and a real promotion will change that. And I do think if Drake gets good promotion again, gets a good run going, it will change. People will get over the beef eventually, but I think that has to happen when Kendrick is done whooping him. I think Kendrick is going to keep the whooping going, and as long as that whooping keeps going, Drake has got to lay low. I think he has to wait for the Super Bowl to finish. I think next summer should be when Drake starts rolling out again. Because Super Bowl, I can't see Kendrick doing anything after the Super Bowl without it becoming, okay, you're doing too much. I think Super Bowl is his last cherry on the top.
I think he's going to drop an album.
Yeah, but I don't think Drake disses will be there. I think he's done with that. I think he's done with that.
I think he's done with that too. I think as an artist, he'll be like, I'm past
that.
I think Drake is not going to let this go.
He has to. Because if he keeps bringing it back, people are just going to keep remembering what was said about him. This isn't like Pusha T. He can keep the subliminal and the dodgy stuff at Pusha T because Pusha T said you have a child. Okay, everyone knows a deadbeat. But what's being said about you here, you don't want to keep reminding people of that. Yeah. That's why he needs to stop asking for a round 2. He has to stop. He has to move on more than Kendrick does.
His ego wouldn't let him. Like, if you're the guy in rap is bravado, rap is, I'm the best, I'm better than you. His ego will not let him move on. Because his fans will look at him like, bro, I mean, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe he spins and goes, you know what, I'm going to go appease to my fan base because I know you man are never going to like me. Peace to my fan base, put out a fucking romantic whatever album, get that locked down and build your rap thing by giving your fans what they really want. Start rapping again like you did on that fuck those 2 songs. Maybe get your market share back, and then I'm going to test you in the longevity of my career. Let's see me and you go back to back.
It's like Kendrick wins the battle, who wins the war. That's what Jay-Z somewhat did with the Nas thing, because Nas won the beef. But when you look at the longevity of their careers, Jay-Z lasted just that bit longer. That's maybe the angle that Drake could try. However, I think Kendrick has great longevity to him. I think Kendrick has great longevity to him. And I'll just say, man, I don't think Drake and any Drake fan should be ashamed of what he produced in that. Well, okay, maybe they can be ashamed of a few songs, but as far as he did his best, I do believe he did his best. Hard Part 6 was a checkmate. I don't blame him too much. Tailor Made, I don't know why you're using AI, especially of people like Tupac. That's a very sensitive thing for people, but I still believe Drake is like the second best rapper of our generation. It's just Kendrick is just that little bit better. So
man, it's crazy, man. Like, you know what's so crazy about it too? Like, I kind of agree, and I remember thinking this guy's a massive.
Did we have a conversation?
We did have a conversation. Yes, before the beef happened, we talked about them two, and my argument was always like Kendrick pops off, he never does anything, he never comes back up.
Up now, didn't
and he popped back up. He popped up now. But I was like, my argument was like Drake consistently gives us stuff, and like Kendrick needed to show that he's actually that guy. He needs to come out, and lo and behold, he fucking came out and did that. Gave 4 songs in 1 week, and just like just the level of like, and that's bro, like apart beef over whatever the fuck, bro. We ate as fans, as hip hop fans. This is what we wanted. This is like that fucking scenario in your head. You go like, what if this happened? And it fucking did, and it delivered. So I'm so fucking happy, bro. I have to wrap this up because I know my fucking phone's gonna die. Thank you so much for doing this, fam. I fucking love that you did this for me. This is amazing. We're gonna have this again because I enjoyed this so much. This is fucking amazing. Before I go, I always give the opportunity for the guests to ask me any question that they would like. You can. I know it's kind of like I'm sudden and on the spot, but any question you want of any topic or anything you've thought before I end off, because I've been peppering you with questions. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
Question. Okay, I'd say one question that I have for you is, what do you what are 3 things that you value the most in both relationships and friendships?
Wow, fucking, that's a great question.
If you don't have to...
No, I want to answer it. I'm going to answer it. But I'm just saying that's a great question. Fucking hell. Okay, so relationships and friendships. I think I'll say first say friendships then. And it kind of does matter in same relationships. I think friendship is very important for me that I'm able to be vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
And especially in relationship too, because I feel like there's a lot of things that especially in how guys are, that if I feel like me saying something will change your opinion of you in your head, whatever opinion you have of me in your head, it's difficult for me to open up. I have to be able to be like, you know what, I trust that I can just be myself, and even when I'm not perfect, you can still see me as the version of me that I am, you know. And I really, really appreciate that in relationships. Another thing I really appreciate is like just people who do stuff. Like I just like people, like especially in friendship, but also relationships. Again, these things kind of match. People who just have an interest. People who are just very passionate about things, you know, like for example, you talking to me about wrestling, basically educating me on wrestling because you know way more about wrestling than I do. I fucking love that because I can't learn everything, but I want to know a lot. I'm curious about everything, but I don't have the time to learn everything. So to see your perspective on this, and to see you know, I've done this, and this is what this is like, and this is what I care about. I fucking love that, and that's why this podcast exists, because I just like talking to people about that. And then for relationships, one thing I really appreciate. The last thing is probably like, I don't know, fun. I think fun is probably the word. It's a weird word for it, but it's like you have to have an appreciation for life. Like you have to have like this idea that you want to enjoy life, you want to live a life. And because I want to live a life, and I know that in the long term, if I'm with someone who doesn't want to do that, I'm gonna struggle to really be with that person, because life gets tough, and it gets tough for all of us. And I want someone to be there where I can be like, you know what, it's tough, but you know, fuck it, I'm gonna laugh in the face of it. And that's just been always been my mentality with everything, you know, like let's have fun, let's enjoy it. We're here for like how many fucking maybe 100 years if you're fucking lucky, maybe not. But like, I really appreciate that since now that we're here, now that we have to do this, we're here, we're fucking awake, let's fucking have a good time of it. And like, people who see that, maybe implicitly or even like, you know, express that to people and just go out. When I meet new people, I'm like, I'm open, I'm like, let's fucking go, whatever. Like, I want to know about you. What are you like? What do you like to do? You know, I really appreciate that about people. Yeah, that's cool. That's a very great question. I probably gave terrible answers there because I didn't think about it. That's an amazing question. I'm definitely going to use that on other people. But dude, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for giving your time. I really enjoyed this episode. And hopefully I'll see you again next time.
I'm definitely down, fam. You know, I'm always available, man. So you just let me know. I'm down.
Thank you, man. And I hope you enjoyed this episode too. Hope you have a good time in a bit. Peace.